filling in for Larry tonight, and my computer's not working down there, so I switched seats. I'd like to call the January 6, 2026 Committee of the Whole meeting to order. And we'll start with prayer. Mr. Burris, would you mind?
Not at all. Tim Schmidt from Heartland Church will be praying for us this evening. Thank you, Pastor.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Let's pray. Father, we thank you so much for this night that we can come together as a community and just make plans and do the best that we can to serve our community. And we thank you for all that you did in 2025, all the ways that you worked and the needs that you met. And we're excited about a new year, about 2026, to see what you have in store for Tontitown and all the residents. Pray that you watch over our firefighters, you watch over our police officers, you be with our city council and mayor and just all those that are involved in the works of the city to do their best to serve this community. We thank you for the many blessings we have to live in this nation, this state, and this city. We pray all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Pastor.
Yes, thank you. Calling our meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Miss D. Mike.
Here.
Daniel.
Here.
Amber.
Here.
Tim.
Here.
Larry.
All right. Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. I seek approval of the agenda, please.
May I add a couple of things, and one addition and one subtraction. One thing that's not on the agenda that probably should be, according to our code, section 31.03, the Committee of the Whole, at its first calendar meeting, shall select a chairperson. The language is not ambiguous on that. It says that we shall do that. The second thing I'd like to amend is I would just scratch under old business my discussion on the resolution and just add it to Mr. Montez's in part C. I do have a supplemental handout that I would like to add to his that we can, I'm fine with the resolution that he's got in the packet, but there are some things that are in mind that just supplement to it. So with those two changes.
So you want to drop A?
Scratch A.
Add it to C.
Under old business and just,
C with new.
I would just leave the discussion to Mr. Montez. And I have a supplemental resolution if council will permit, or if they want to look at. They don't have to, obviously, but I've got some other language that could be added to the language that's in his. And I didn't get the packet until Monday because I was in Dallas for the weekend, so that's why I didn't get.
And then we want to add item E 3103 for appointing a chair.
Yes,
correct?
and because I mean that's what the code says.
DE. Okay. Okay, with those changes, I seek an approval of the agenda.
I would like to see your supplement.
Yeah.
Sure, I'll pass it down to everybody.
I have a question. Since mine was in with Mr. Montez, is that going to interfere with the one that I've had asked Maddie to put on the agenda?
This is to go under new business C. I'm sorry, not old business.
Okay.
Well, no, I think yours is still part of C.
Yes.
Yeah, so Mayor and Mr. Montez will both be presenting then on item C. Those are
Under old
together,
business.
under new business.
Okay, so
No.
No, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, the new business is
It's-
about requesting
No, you're
tax
right.
reports, so.
It's item C of old business.
Yes.
Is where you'll be presenting with Mr. Montez.
Yeah, there's no
Okay,
changes to
yeah.
that.
Different item.
And I'm sorry, Madam Mayor, where I see one resolution regarding this tax reporting. Is that what we're talking about?
That's the one that I just handed you as the supplement.
Right, I understand, but in new business,
These are under old C. These two are for old C.
old C,
Yes.
not new C. Got it. Okay.
Mr. Burris, the one that I was talking about is the resolution clarifying legal contact procedures while reaffirming.
And that's
the
one of
city
these two that I've
council.
got here that I got yesterday. Okay.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay. All right. I don't at all mind those changes, and I'm willing to make a motion to subtract the one and add the other.
Seeking a second.
I'll second.
Okay, roll call.
Amber,
Yes.
Daniel,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Larry. Oh, Misty. Here.
All-
Yes, sorry.
But she is here.
I am here, kind of.
Okay, so we've skipped item A, remove that. We'll go to item B, a discussion of a resolution to hire Tyler Farrar as city attorney.
We've got to do the minutes.
Oh, did I skip all of that?
Yeah.
Oh, my word, I'm all off. I'm so sorry. Yes, approval of the December 2nd, 2025 Cal minutes.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second that motion.
Roll call.
Daniel,
Yes.
Misty. Yes. Tim,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Amber.
Yes. Now, citizen comments. This is any agenda or non-agenda item. Step to the podium, your name, address, and please keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. We have a timer up just to help you keep track.
Good evening, council members. My name's Mick Wagner. I reside at 409 Pennsylvania Avenue in Tontitown, and I'm the plaintiff in FOI case number 72 CV 252686. My understanding is tonight the city council is considering hiring Tyler Farrar as a city attorney under contract posted with a special meeting agenda. The contract pays $300 an hour and includes section 2.2, which is allow legal counsel to be hired with only the mayor's approval. In a publicly posted interview, Mr. Farrar says he is very familiar with the FOI law. So my first question is straightforward. If we're hiring a city attorney at $300 an hour with FOI expertise, why would the city outsource defense of an FOI lawsuit? That appears to be paying twice for the same enterprise or expertise in the enterprise. I would want to clear as to what my source of making that statement is. I'm a plaintiff, and the information I'm referencing regards communications with plaintiff's counsel coming directly from my own attorney in the ordinary course of representation. The concern here isn't theoretical. The W.H. Taylor firm has been involved in matters related to code enforcement and ADA compliance issues regarding the mayor's property. Retaining the same firm directly or indirectly under section 2.2 to defend the city and mayor in an FOI lawsuit creates a conflict and recusal risk. If recusal becomes necessary, the city could be forced to hire replacement counsel mid-case at any additional cost. This also is a procurement issue. The city recently issued RFQs for legal services. 2 qualified firms submitted statements of qualification to their own file. To my knowledge, the Taylor firm does not have an SOQ on file with the city. Arkansas Law 1911-801 requires legal services to be selected through a qualification-based process. I offer a constructive solution. If the council is uncomfortable hiring the city attorney to litigate the FOI case, hire one of the two qualified firms already on file. This complies with the state law, preserves council oversight, and avoids conflict. Finally, I ask one question to be answered on the record. Who drafted the proposed city attorney contract as presented in the special meeting agenda, particularly mayor-only approval language in 2.2? Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone online? Okay. All right, so we're going to go ahead and move on to old business. Item B, a discussion of a resolution to hire Tyler Farrar, a city attorney, presented by Ms. Mayor.
As we have discussed in several of the meetings, to hire Tyler Farrar, which he is not my attorney, nor has he ever been my personal attorney. Just wanted to make that completely clear. My personal attorney is Taylor & Taylor, Matt Benson in Fayetteville. I never met Mr. Farrar until the interview time. So what was just stated is incorrect.
Madam Mayor, I'm so sorry. I don't think that the inference there was that Tyler Farrar was your attorney, but rather that I have a note here to ask that W.H. Taylor is your attorney. I don't know how their name got into this, but I did not infer from that Tyler Farrar was inferred to be your attorney. Maybe I misunderstood the gentleman.
Maybe I did, but I just wanted to make that very clear.
Look at the back page of what I said.
Okay. Okay, go ahead and start presenting.
Okay, as I said, we did our interviews. The council selected a panel that was used. We did the interviews. Out of all of the interviews, Mr. Farrar is the one that was chosen above everyone else. And as we discussed in the last meeting, all the information pertaining to him, and the council suggested that they wanted Mr. Farrar.
I don't mean to put you on the spot, Mr. Burris, but I know you sat on the panel. Is there anything you'd like to add?
I appreciate you asking. I like Tyler Farrar. I think of the three candidate firms that were represented, I thought he was the most ideal candidate. And I spoke very glowingly about him last month, and I will continue to. However, I think on the legal services contract, I believe the gentleman asked who wrote the contract. I wondered it myself. Did Mr. Farrar write this contract?
He wrote his own contract, as did Mr. Eichmann and the other attorneys that the city has had.
Okay, so the contract we're looking at was written by Tyler Farrar?
By him.
Okay.
Yes.
I don't necessarily have a problem with that. It helps to know that. But there were some issues in the contract that I would like to bring up. So thank you for sitting in as chairperson tonight, and thanks for asking the question. Again, I think Tyler Farrar was the most ideal candidate of the three that we had. And I think because of some of his, what I have referred to as cross-training in the past, that he'll be a good fit for us. However, he's never done this before. And I know the pricing has changed a little bit from what was originally asked for, but even at $300 an hour, it's a lot of money per hour here in Arkansas for somebody who's never done this before. So I think 300 is steep. It's steeper than I would have expected. I think even more concerning to me is that there is no up to cap. So that was one of those things that I noticed, that a rate of $300 an hour, I think that's high. I think that should be lower than that. And I think that we should limit how many dollars we're expending per month on that. There's also a $300 flat fee per meeting. And Maybe that can be the same as the per hour. I don't know, but I think in some cases, we're going to come out of pocket more than is necessary. So we might want to adjust that number as well. I did just want to confirm in section 2.3, scope and duties, he will not do any of the criminal prosecutions. We have other counsel, I believe.
That is for the police department, and that's how it stood before. It's the same as it was before. Also, I just wanted to say, at the last meeting, it was stated, if anyone has any questions, because you knew I was going into negotiations with him again.
I did not know that. You had told me at the beginning of the last meeting that he had come to you telling you what he wanted. So I understand if we didn't have an opportunity to talk about this. We talked a little bit before the last meeting. If you don't mind, if I could continue my comments, and then I'd be happy to listen to your points. On 2.2, it says in the last sentence, the parties hereby agree that the attorney may, when necessary, engage other licensed attorneys to assist attorney with litigation matters subject to the prior approval by the mayor. I don't like the idea of the attorney choosing people, and I also don't like that happening without council approval. In part 3, compensation, I've mentioned that. I think that's high. I don't think it should be any higher than $250 an hour, which I believe is what our former attorney charges the other cities that he works for. The term says the term of the agreement is 1 year from the effective date. I would rather this be a 3-year agreement, a 3-year term that can be terminated in part 5 with 90 days written notice. I think 90 days gives both parties plenty of time to figure out what happens next. Those are my only concerns, and certainly open to hearing other views on all of that. But thank you again, Chairman. I'm done. Go ahead.
Oh, I think I said all I was going to say. I just
okay.
wanted to let you know that I had, at the last meeting, specifically said if anyone has any questions or anything that they would like for me to ask Mr. Farrar, to please email me by Friday. I did not receive any emails at all. So what council said while we were here on the bench is what I presented to him. And he did agree to change the council meetings to $300 an hour.
Okay. Well, he came down $100 an hour there. I appreciate that.
No, actually, he didn't come down just $100. Before, it was $300 per hour. So
Right.
he's only charging $300 per meeting now.
And what was he charging per meeting before?
$300 an hour.
Okay, even for the meetings. Yeah, and I did mention that to you verbally at the last meeting. I didn't know you wanted me to follow that up with an email as well, but I haven't shared anything just now that's different than anything I've said prior.
Okay.
But I do appreciate your desire to have had that in writing, and I must have missed that instruction or misunderstood. Sorry about that.
Anybody else have any comments?
I do. I would like to, I mean, if we're not going to have the ability to make amendments tonight, then I can pretty much see where this is going to go. So I have a problem with the language, and I think in 2.2 under litigation, it needs to be mayor and council. I have other questions, but I'm going to stick to the contract for right now. Let's see. There's a sentence in here: the attorney shall make every reasonable effort to attend city council meetings, COW meetings, and those special meetings. He's a one-man shop. Mr. Farrar's not here, right?
He is not.
So my question to him would be, since he's a one-man gang, so to speak, how can he assure us that we will have legal representation at all these meetings? Another thing, the term agreement under section 4, one of the things that I think got us in a little bit of hot water was this rolling contract that seemed to exist. This agreement shall automatically renew for successive one-year terms unless extended by mutual agreement, written agreement of the parties, or terminated in accordance with the agreement. I would like to add that the automatic renewal is still subject to council approval, and council must vote to extend the agreement. I don't like the fact that it's not going to be brought up for discussion on a yearly basis. I mean, I get it. We can, if we decide that we're unhappy with him, we can get rid of him, but I'd still like to, for this to be done on a yearly basis.
Yeah, I like that idea as well, and I did forget, I neglected to mention, I'm sorry, I can wait.
I'd wait.
I neglected to mention that if we did something like a 3-year term, that I'd be happy to put in increases on the annual over that 3-year span, just to take into account cost of living, et cetera.
She did just speak or call Mr. Farrar, and he said that he could call in 5 to 10 minutes to answer questions if that's something that y'all be interested in.
Is he able to amend the contract if we vote on these changes and send it to us before the special meeting?
That's a great question. I guess we can ask him if he calls in, when he calls in.
I mean, he
just
should
gonna
be
call
able
in?
to do it pretty easily, I would think.
What was the question?
Whether he can make I mean, we've proposed a couple of changes to it, and I'd want section 2.2 change for sure. And also I want to add the automatic renewal still subject to council approval under section 4 or number 4, the section term. And I had a couple of questions about some billing and how he bills, and also his ability. You know, I mentioned the one about his ability to make sure we have legal representation at the meetings, since he is a solo practitioner, so to speak. But that's all I've got for right now.
Yeah, there was verbiage somewhere that said, like, I thought I highlighted it, but it says something along the lines of, like, if he's available, and not just for meetings, but it was attorneys shall have, maybe it was in 2.1, I don't know, but again, I'm amenable, and I do like Mr. Farrar. I think he's asking for more money than is appropriate in this space, especially for somebody without a proven track record. And if he's willing to be amenable, and if you guys want to make those changes, I'm happy to try to make that happen. I know how much we need an attorney, but I just don't want to get ourselves out of a frying pan and into a fire.
And so I do have a little comment to add to that. I have right here in my hand some emails, and I'll send it to you. It's a spreadsheet of the cities that I've reached out to. I've reached out to about 20 different cities, maybe 25, and I've only gotten 10 responses back, but I had 3 questions for them. Whether your attorney is appointed or elected, how much is in your budget for your city attorney, and then if they could provide any kind of contractual obligations that they've had with their attorney. And out of the 10 that I've got, the hourly rate is drastically less than what we're presented here in this contract. So I'm thinking, I'm kind of in line with y'all. I think the hourly rate probably needs to come closer to around 200 an hour. I think 300 is a little steep, especially being that he's not been a municipal lawyer ever before. So I don't, the experience isn't there for 300 an hour, in my opinion. And then, I do agree with Mr. Burris on your time limit. A 1-year contract sounds a little quick. And then I like the idea of a 90-day termination, so that we look at how this last legal representation's got us, and we're sitting here without a lawyer. If we had 90 days, that'd be nice. I think that would help then future counsel out. with representation and having somebody to attend these meetings.
Yeah, I had looked at some of those other cities as well, which is why I recognize that I think he's asking a little more. And you got numbers from 10 cities. You don't necessarily have to tell us what those are. I also fully understand Mr. Farrar. I mean, this has to be okay for him too. And if it's not amenable to him, again, as much as I like him, I don't mind going back to look at other attorneys, starting the process over again. I know that's not ideal. I know we need an attorney. But I do want to make sure that it is in our best interest, and that we get the appropriate contract in place.
Danny, I would actually be interested to know what cities those were. Were they comparable to ours?
It ranges. We've got Avoca, Elkins, Elm Springs, Farmington, Gentry, Johnson, Pea Ridge, Rogers, and West Fork. So Rogers is probably the biggest of them all, but there were some comparable cities in there that responded back. And if they're listening, I would like to thank them for their responses. I didn't. The highest amount. It just kind of varied. Some of them have it budgeted at a flat dollar amount per year, so we'd have to break that apart. But I mean, the highest amount was $250 for an hour. Yeah.
I thought I saw that Bella Vista's was. I know Johnson's is $50,000 a year. I thought Bella Vista's was somewhere close to that as well.
And Mr. Farrar is actually on the line. Mr. Farrar, can you hear? Okay.
I can. There's a little bit of echo, but I can hear you.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes. We have several council members that have questions regarding the contract. I think some changes they would like to see and discuss. So I guess we'll just start with whomever wants to start. Mr. Moscodiak, you want to?
Well, first of all, I want to clear up with Mr. Burris. Are you advocating for a 3-year contract? Is that what you want?
Yeah. I don't know if you can hear me, Mr. Farrar. This is Tim Burris. Thank you for joining us. I appreciate it very much. One of the things that Mr. Wishkowiak, Councilman Wishkowiak just asked is the term of the agreement, Part 4 in this legal contract. Instead of that being 1 year, I would rather that be 3 years. If we need to work in some increases each year into that, I'd be amenable to that. I don't know how my fellow council members feel, but yes, what I am proposing is a 3-year. I think the city needs some stability, and I'd also like the termination clause to state that either party may terminate with 90 days written notice. The last time that we lost an attorney, we had 30 days notice, and we've gone some months without an attorney. I think if we went 90 days, that gives us a little more flexibility. It gives you a little more flexibility as well.
So we okay with just starting there? Let's go ahead and discuss that if you don't mind, Mr. Farrar.
Parts 4 and 5.
Yeah, I could be quick about that. Yeah, I don't have any issue with the 3-year contract. I had considered making it a 1-year rolling contract, but that's just, when Mayor Russell and I talked, we kind of just landed with a year. But I have no issue going to a 3 and a 90-day termination clause. That's fine.
Thank you. And then by mutual written agreement of parties, the other party says shall automatically renew for successive 1-year terms. And we would like to add in there, and I think we need to do this perhaps even per state law, that it's approved by city council each year. So we could still have a bit of a role, but it would still have to be approved each year.
Well, I would prefer the 3-year better, I think, than having to do the rolling.
Okay. And then not roll it at all after 3 years into a new 3-year?
At the end of year 3, I guess we can renew or change terms or whatever.
Okay. I'm fine with either one of those. So, go ahead, Mike.
So with the 3-year deal, there's no need to vote on it every year.
Correct.
So that makes my addition to this moot. So I'm good with the 3 years. I'm good with I don't know if we need to vote on these individually as amendments to this, or if we want to make all the other changes. I think there's really only one other change that was discussed, and it's
2. 2.2 was to add "and council."
right.
and then the fee, and then just assurance, since he was a one-man show. So I guess.
Oh, yeah, I was just going to ask, yeah, but it's not necessarily a change to the language. I was just going to ask
Right.
about coverage issues for the meetings, since you are kind of by yourself, Mr. Farrar. This is Mike Washkowiak, by the way. I know it says you make every reasonable effort, and, you know, that's one of those kind of vague clauses in there, but we really want council present at meetings like this and our city council meetings too. So, you know, I'd like to have some assurance that we will have representation at each of these meetings, and preferably in person, but at the very least, being able to join us like this.
With that said, our previous counselor, our previous attorney, wasn't able to make every meeting. So there are going to be times, of course, when
Of course, there are times we can't make them.
So, so what exactly is your question for Mr. Farrar?
Well, the question was, you know, do you foresee attendance at these meetings being an issue at all?
No, I mean, I think I fully answered this during my interview, but I understand that's part of the concession the city's making, right? I'm a solo practitioner, I guess. I have a full-time job, but I would not be applying. I would not be going through the steps of creating a law firm, an LLC, and going through all of this if I didn't intend to just do the basic function of showing up to the meetings, right? So like, that's how I answered this question during the interview is I could have 100-person law firm. I could send you a different lawyer every week, but that's not any better. What you're getting with me will be a relationship with an attorney. So I guess I can't really answer your question other than saying, yes, I'll make every reasonable effort to be at every meeting. Do kids get sick? Do I have to travel? That's why that language is in there.
I understand that, and yeah, I appreciate that, and
Sure.
I accept that answer.
Okay.
Very good.
Okay with that. And then, Mr. Farrar, this is Tim Burris again. The compensation, as we look at other cities in the area, I felt that the compensation was high. I think Mr. Montez did some similar research and found the same thing. I do appreciate that you came down in your pricing. I also understand that we're trying to work it out so that it's a win for you and it's a win for us. But I would rather that the hourly compensation be lower than it is. And then furthermore, I would want there to be a cap, a monthly cap, where we don't go over a certain amount.
So I don't think I'd be willing to that, right? I don't know that it's my responsibility to manage the city's budget. And I'm not trying to be flippant. I just don't know that it's ethical or a good idea for me to agree to a cap. I understand the issue with compensation and you saying it's too high, which I thought is what I was correcting when I went back to the flat fee for the meeting. But I just don't think I'm going to be willing to say, okay, I hit my 20 hours a week or 20 hours a month, so I'm not going to do any more legal work for the city. I just don't think that's ethical.
Okay.
I think it's the city's responsibility to manage your budget.
Okay. Yeah, I appreciate that answer. Just to be frank, I like you a lot. I think that you, of the candidates that we saw, you were the one that was most ideal. But that's kind of a deal killer for me. If we don't know how much we're spending on a monthly or yearly basis, because you are correct, it is our responsibility to manage that budget.
And I don't, again, I'm not trying to be, rude. I just think that the advice I was given by your previous city attorney, I just don't know that that's a good idea for me to enter into any sort of cap.
Yeah, I totally understand. It sounds like this may not be a fit, but I appreciate your input. Thank you.
Sure.
May I ask?
Any other questions?
Yes, please. Emails from members of the city, city council, mayor, I assume those are subject to your hourly billing rate. Is that right?
What I told the mayor when we discussed this is, again, as a licensed attorney with a full-time job, general counsel of medical school, I'm not getting in this to bill a bunch of hours and make a bunch of money. Every time my phone rings, every time my email goes off, I'm not counting 0.6 of an hour. But what I would appreciate compensation for is the substantive work I do for the city. When I spend an hour of my time away from my family doing work, I would like to be compensated for that hour. I'm not,
Completely
again,
understandable.
going to be nitpicking over bills. I've never invoiced a city before. I'm not. I know it's hard to take me at face value that I'm going to be laid back about billing, but it's not something I'm interested in, is counting every, 6 minutes
Well, thank you. I
of a phone
appreciate
call.
that. Thank you.
I guess I really can't answer it other than that. I'll bill in whatever increments
Well,
you want me to bill in.
Well, I understand too that some issues that we bring before you are probably going to require an hour or two, and some emails can be. What I'm getting at is, you may be able to fire off an answer to an email in 30 seconds, or we're going to be billed, for 15 minutes of your time, like you just brought up, how some attorneys will do. And I know other issues that we send to you may take 2 to 3 hours of your time or more to research. So that's kind of what I'm getting at. The one that.
Oh yeah. So that's, sorry if I was unclear in my answer. That is what I would wish to be compensated for, is the 2 and 3 hours of legal research and work that I do. I'm not so interested in the billing for every email. I mean, if the byproduct of the email is 2 hours of legal work, then obviously that would be what I would invoice. But again, it's not like, I spent 5 minutes driving to a city council meeting, you're going to get a bill for that. That's just not the way. I don't have the free time to even calculate that petty of stuff.
And that's kind of what
I'm not interested in that.
That's kind of what I was getting at, and I appreciate your answer, and I thank you for that.
Okay.
So I have a question, and we talked a lot about the cap, but you're set on the 300. Is there any flexibility in the rate per hour?
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, if we want to have that discussion, that's fine. I mean, we've been negotiating this contract for like 6 weeks now. I'd be happy to go back to the rate, but that's just, I've talked about this, I guess, publicly and now privately with the mayor. That's just, if I was an attorney and I hung a shingle, based on the experience that I have, that would be my hourly rate. I've had job offers from law firms that have offered, they would bill me out at that hourly rate. So that's just the number I came up with, and I've not heard a counter.
Yeah, I'm sorry, this is Tim Burris again. I totally appreciate that. And I do appreciate that you came down from your earlier rate. So maybe before you were charging a little more than what your hourly rate would be. I guess my thought is that this is sort of the Costco buying in bulk attorney fees, right? So we're throwing a fair amount of hours at you every month. Again, we can here potentially manage that budget side. I understand you need to get paid for what you do, and I want you to get paid for what you do. But at the same time, our taxpayers are paying you, and I don't at all mind if you spend 2 hours in research. If you bill me $50 every time I send you an email, that bothers me. But
well, can I clarify that? So I'm not really sure if you're saying like a flat monthly rate. Like what I said, Mr. Burris, is I was not willing to cap the amount of hours like I can ethically work for the city. Like at 20 hours or whatever, you guys have paid me too much and I'm not going to work anymore. I guess I would be open to that sort of flat monthly rate type compensation structure. We would just need to talk about that. I've not worked for the city before, so I don't even know what the hour expectations per month would be right now. So it's kind of hard for me to come up with that flat hourly rate.
yeah, I know Mr. Eichmann has some of those arrangements in other places, and obviously he's not our attorney anymore. But my idea is, again, just to clarify, if I haven't been clear, is that amount, we'd have an hourly amount. I wouldn't want that hourly amount to exceed $250. And then to your point, whether it's 20 hours or whatever it is, I'm less concerned about the hours, although I know that these two go hand in hand, as I am concerned about the money, right? So if we could very easily be spending $50,000 a month on a good attorney, and that just becomes an unbearable amount of money to spend for a city our size over the course of a year. So I do understand if you've got an ethical problem, and I understand it.
Well, not even an ethical problem, Mr. Burris. If the amount of legal work is now going to be exceeding $50,000 a month, like
Oh,
that's
I
how
have-
much
I
you
have
would
no
pay me.
idea.
I don't know that I can work that many hours.
I made up a number. I don't think it'd get anywhere near
Okay.
there. But my point is, if the sky's the limit, and the limit isn't the limit, but the sky is the limit, I would just want to know that there's a point where we say, hey, you know what? Maybe we can save that to next month.
Right, and to that question earlier, that is why I, said that's the city's obligation to manage their budget. I don't know if it would be ethical or a good idea for me to carry the responsibility and say, well, I'm capped at hours.
Oh, that was
I
not
think
my,
it's-
that was not my intention. I don't necessarily need you to keep track, but at some point, we need to know how many hours that you've spent so that we on our end can say, hey, that's getting a little too
Well,
rich.
Maybe I was confused because the question I was asked is if I would be willing to cap my hours. So maybe I just misunderstood you.
Yeah, and again, I want you to get paid. I want to get paid for what I do as well. But there is a certain service inside the civil service or the civic service role. And I get it. I'm not in any way trying to beat you up over price. Again, I like you. I was in the room when we did the interviews, and I think that you'd be ideal. But I also understand if it's not a fit, it's not a fit. No big deal. We can still be friends. But maybe it just isn't the right thing. But what I would like to do is reconsider the compensation not to exceed 250. I think Mr. Montez liked that closer to 200, I think is what I heard him say. But then more importantly, no matter what that hourly rate is, that there comes a point where we say, we're not spending any more than $5,000 a month. We're not spending any more than, X dollars a month. And if, by the way, I also know you were pulled out of whatever you were doing tonight, which wasn't being here ready to take our questions. So I understand we've got you a little flat-footed, and perhaps you're feeling even a little more defensive because of that. I'm so sorry for the position that you find yourself in, and I very much appreciate you taking the time to answer our questions.
Well, let me apologize real quick and say I didn't mean to come off as defensive. If anything, it's just a little frustrating because we've been going through, since, I don't know. I don't even remember the date, but we've been talking about the contract for a while. So it's just a surprise to me to hear there's a lot of issues with it. Anyway, yeah, I'm free for questions. Yeah, I am at a, fourth grade basketball practice, but I'm happy to take any more questions.
Right. Yeah. Well, thank you. Are you playing on that team? Just curious.
They're far more skilled than I at basketball. 10-year-olds would go circles around me.
And they're probably taller than me. No, he didn't. Yeah. So how do you, again, sorry, you're at a basketball practice and not perhaps in attorney mode right now. But again, I would feel much more comfortable if that hourly rate did not exceed $250 an hour. Are you okay with that before we talk about any such caps?
Yeah. As long as, again, the caps don't cause ethical consternation for me.
Understood. Okay, thank you, appreciate it. And thank you, Chairwoman. And I do appreciate that you and the mayor have been talking about it. One of the functions that we do here, Mr. Farrar, is we give the mayor negotiating power, right? We vote to allow her to negotiate. I did share some of my concerns, and I'm sorry they didn't make it to you. I didn't think it was ethical for me to go directly to you. But sometimes it just goes back and forth like this longer than we would like. It's a little bit like a racquetball game sometimes. And
no, it's fine. I just, with the benefit of hindsight, maybe we could have got everybody in a room and figured this out a couple, 3-4 weeks ago. But again, it's all good.
That would have been great.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%.
So it looks like we have a verbal agreement to decrease the compensation to $250 an hour, the term agreement to be 3 years, and a 90-day written notice for termination. Was there any other changes?
Per meeting at 250
Per
as
meeting,
well.
sorry, 250 per meeting, to clarify.
And I think we discussed with the 3-year contract that we would increase it by a certain percentage per year, almost like a cost of living adjustment.
Mr. Farrar, I'm sorry, I need to ask.
Go ahead.
Attorney Farrar,
Yeah, sorry,
did you agree to the 300, I'm sorry, the 250 per meeting or 300 per meeting?
250 fine. I'm
Okay.
not, again, I'm not in this, over money. So yeah, 250 is fine.
Okay, I just
For
wanted to
both.
make sure.
For both meetings.
And the 2.2, we add and council to the end.
Oh, on 2.2, yes, parties hereby agree that attorney may, when necessary, engage other licensed attorneys to assist attorney with litigation matters subject to their prior approval by the mayor and council. Is that what you're
Yeah, that's what
wanting
we
to add?
talked about, yes.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Attorney Farrar, is that okay?
What's the question? The striking that language?
No.
It's, I'm sorry.
Adding
No,
two
no, go
words,
ahead.
and council
It's
after,
adding, on 2.2,
Litigation.
it's adding, under the litigation, it's adding the prior approval by the mayor and council. Those, they're just wanting to add and council.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. Sorry, that probably should have been there originally. It's probably just an oversight on my part.
thank you for that.
Sure.
Any other things to add?
There is no cap language that you're putting in this, right, Mr. Burris? Because
No,
I'm
no,
not
I-
comfortable with the
Yeah, I,
Not either.
yeah,
cap language, right?
run
now
with that,
either.
Councilman Piazza.
Go ahead.
Well, I'm not comfortable with the cap either.
You're not comfortable
Just-
with a cap?
On a monthly basis, no. I mean, there may be some months where it may take, and he's right. He said, well, we're not just going to pay you after you've reached 20 hours. I just don't think that that's fair to Mr. Farrar or anybody else.
If I may interject real quick, I'm not trying to be rude. I'm not trying to be flippant. I'm more than happy to talk through all these issues. I just think for me to make this work, I just wouldn't want a monthly flat rate. I'm just afraid that based on this, some seasoned attorneys I talked to about doing this, I was advised that would probably be a bad idea because you could, like you said a second ago, you need 50 hours, 60 hours of legal work a month and just be doing work for all the time and not getting paid. So I just don't think that's a good idea for me.
Well, but you can also limit the work, right? So if we say, I'll talk about my budget, right? If I've got a grocery budget and I get to the third week of the month and I don't have enough money to buy groceries in that fourth week or fifth week of the month, I don't buy groceries, right? So we therefore, in that case, we would just choose to not eat. I know that I'm using a silly example here, but my point is that there comes a point where we can just say, hey, you know what, that's fine. We can punch that into my next month budget, for instance. The car needs work, we can put that into next month. We don't have to worry about that this month. And yes, there are some things that have to happen, but I would want to know at some point, and I'm more concerned about that really annually, but I think it's easiest if we look at that on a monthly basis. Maybe we could do it on a quarterly basis where we say, hey, you know what? Yes, that thing is important, but if we could just bump that into next week or 2 weeks from now instead of dealing with that today. I understand both of my colleagues here and their hesitation to a cap, but I think just like anything else, there comes a point with a budget item with taxpayer money where we need to have some idea of how much we're spending instead of just guessing.
I would like to speak, if that's okay. So if we have 2 lawsuits a month and it's a certain amount, and we have 5 lawsuits in a month, that would not be fair to ask him to cap anything off and say, oh, just push those away.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that necessarily, but with all due respect, some of the lawsuits that we found ourselves in 2025 were because we did not seek our counsel and/or take their advice. So if we're hiring an attorney, we need to utilize the attorney appropriately. and follow that attorney's legal advice. And I believe if we do that, we're not going to find ourselves in the same number of lawsuits that we have in the past. Of course, there's no way of knowing that, but some of the lawsuits that we've gotten ourselves into are forced errors because one person or another at the city hasn't asked, followed, or followed the law. And if we can avoid those things, then I think we can manage that as well. And again, it's all a part of managing not my money, not my monthly budget, but the taxpayer's monthly budget. I think it's important.
Well, if I may, if I can kind of piggyback off what Mr. Farrar said, you know, it is our responsibility to manage the budget. And if the legal fees become an issue, then we address them at that time. We can't put a cap on a monthly cap, say, we're not going to pay you any more than this, no matter how many hours you work. I don't think that's fair to him. I don't think I would accept this contract under those conditions. And you're right. Hopefully, by seeking counsel, we avoid some issues in the future. But I'm just not comfortable adding the cap language to the work or that he might have to do for us. We can assess that on a monthly basis when we get the financials and see where money's being spent. And we can address that if it becomes an issue. So he's made concessions in the contract tonight that I think are very favorable to us. And I do not want to put any cap amount in this for him. We can look at it on a monthly basis. It should be line itemed out, and we can see if it's problematic.
Well, I'm not asking him to work without pay, just to be clear. So I'm saying if there comes a point where we're hitting that dollar value, then we need to stop the work on that for now and go in a different direction. Again, if my mechanic finds something
able
wrong.
to stop the work. I mean, some things, you know, are time sensitive, and, you know, you've got deadlines, you've got filings to make, you've got whatever it may be, to say, well, I've hit 20, that's all the city's paying me for. I can't do any more work, even though I've got this deadline that I've got to meet, is not fair at all.
I agree.
I've got a little bit of an input on that, if I could. It sounds like the microphones over there work a little better or something. So you're talking, 20 keeps coming out of it, you know, 20 hours a month, 20 hours a month. Why don't you look at it from, you could look at it, 20 doesn't have to be that number. If we're going to look at capping it, you could look at a 40-hour work week and multiply that, you know, or look at the 52 weeks in a year and divide it and come up with a number that you can put on for a monthly monetary evaluation system. It doesn't have to be 20 hours a month. But, you know, at the same time, I have a tendency to like the cap, but at the same time, I again understand where you're at, Mr. Washkowiak, with not wanting, and Ms. Piazza, with not wanting to put a cap on it. But I'm hesitant because the city always gets burnt every time. Ever since I've been up here, ever since I've come into chambers, the city always gets burnt on a contract in some way or another. So, you know, I like the idea of a cap, but I also understand why we wouldn't want a cap. So, but where we lie is where we're at. But yeah, I agree. He's made a lot of concessions tonight, so perhaps we do move with the concessions that have been made. Don't do the cap, and you know, if something happens and comes awry, we can screech the brakes at that point and look at it. Or you do put the cap, and then, but in the language to the cap, you put that he must come before council, get approval to proceed. You know, where there's a procedure. Two different ways to look at it, but I'm good. I appreciate all the concessions that have been made tonight, and I think we got something we can work with tonight instead of letting this fall to the wayside.
Well, I tend to agree with the non-cap. I think that would be extremely difficult. We have no idea how much work he'll do for us from month to month. And that, my suggestion was going to be what Mike mentioned, and that's just keeping an eye on the monthly budget
Yeah.
and attorney fees and addressing it as needed. We'll see it every month, so
Sound, yeah,
we'll see.
it sounds less messy that way.
Yeah, it definitely seems a little clearer. So, and I do appreciate the concessions that you've made as well. You definitely seem willing to work with us, so.
Oh, sure. Yeah, no, I'm happy to do it. I apologize. I would come in person tonight had I known there would have been so many questions that I didn't know that I wouldn't be needed. So I apologize for being over speakerphone.
Yeah. Does anybody else have anything to add or want to change or need clarification on anything?
Just one, and this shouldn't take long. Section 4 term, since we're changing it to a 3-year from the effective date, it says this agreement shall automatically renew for successive 1-year terms unless extended by mutual written agreement. We can scratch that, I presume, since we're going to a 3-year, and just change it to successive 3-year. I don't, whatever you suggest, Mr. Farrar.
Yeah, and thank you for raising that. I had forgot I did end up with the rolling language in there. What I would propose is maybe just, and again, I'm happy to talk about this, just an initial 3-year term with maybe a 1-year rolling after that. But again, I think if we say 60, 90 days mutually terminatable, then I think it's fine. I mean, ethically, I'm not going to leave the city in a lurch, right? I have an ethical responsibility to pass the torch to another attorney. So these departures are not going to happen in a rushed fashion usually anyway.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, so for clarification, unless anybody else has anything. Okay, so for clarification, the adjustments to the contract will be in section 2.2 litigation, we're simply adding "and counsel" at the end of the paragraph by mayor and council. In section 3, compensation, it's going to be $250 per meeting rather than 300. The term agreement is for 3 years with a successive 1-year term after that. And the termination agreement in section 5 is 90 days written notice. Were there any other changes, anything that I missed?
It's
was one.
$250 per hour and then $250 per meeting.
Right.
$250 per hour, $250 per meeting. Is all of that agreeable, Mr. Farrar?
Okay.
Maybe that was his answer.
While he is not here,
No, he's calling right back. Here he is.
let me ask a big fat hairy question, the BFAQ, BFHQ, I guess. Big fat hairy question. Again, caps matter to me. I know that you guys find some objection to it, but what if we did a big fat hairy cap, like something like $15,000 a month? It's big. I mean, that's 60 hours.
What is the largest attorney bill we've had in a month? What's the average attorney bill we have? Do we know, can we get an average of what?
I think we spent about 150 last year, if I'm not mistaken, close to
Okay.
it, so.
So if that's correct, and I think you're close, the average there is $12,500 a month. Again, my point isn't to try to rip off Mr. Farrar. It's to not rip off the taxpayers and to have some idea of what's going on with that budgeting, with us still having our fingers on it a little bit. Hey, it's going to go over, but at least it came by us and we made a decision.
And then you could add that language where I said if he goes over the 12,500 that you're talking about, or the 15, you threw out 2 numbers, but we leave it to where he comes back to council. He's nearing that cap and he comes back to council for approval to proceed.
Okay,
Yeah.
may I say something, please?
Yes.
All right, Attorney Farrar has already said that he is not going to agree to a cap. So
Okay.
I think that discussion should be
Yeah.
null and void.
Well, but we just gave a different cap answer. Is he on the phone?
Yes.
Did you hear this is Tim Burrows. Did you hear my recent cap idea, Mr. Farrar?
I cut out, or I accidentally hung up on you. I apologize for that. Right after the mayor asked me if I was okay with everything.
I know you
Did you
can't
say
see us, but
15,000?
I have been weeping since you hung up. I'm better now. Thanks for the call back.
I'm sorry. Could you repeat it? You said like a
Like a
don't
big
know,
fat
just-
hairy cap, like $12,500 monthly cap, or a $15,000 monthly cap. At $250, that's 60 hours a month.
again, I'm not going to get caught up in the little stuff. I just don't know ethically what I'm supposed to do if I hit my cap and I'm in the middle of litigation and I've got to, I got to go to court and I just don't know what ethically I'm supposed to do. My choices are I don't get paid and I do legal work, or, you know, or I don't do legal work, which is unethical.
Yeah,
So
I understand. And I think the majority of council agrees with you. Yeah. Okay.
no, it's fine. I just think it's an unusual request, but I'm happy to continue to talk about it again. It just seems like a really bad idea.
It does, because some people would say, oh, I've got $15,000 to make this month.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's why I don't
no
like
caps.
a big cap. I'd like a smaller cap. But I was wondering if you guys were amenable to any cap, and it sounds like the answer to that is probably not. Okay.
Okay. Any other discussions, changes? And Mr. Farrar, with all that we recapped, you're good with all of those changes?
I am. Yes.
Okay. Is there any way that you could, I don't even know if you're in the position to do this, but we have a special meeting after this meeting to discuss hiring you and voting on that. Is there a way that you could make these changes to a contract and maybe send it to us? We could probably break for a few minutes between meetings, and we're not even finished with this first meeting. Is that a possibility?
To make these changes this evening?
I don't, yeah, I don't think that's even necessary.
Another hour of basketball.
Okay.
I could probably do that by.
I don't think it's necessary. I think if we could see it, Friday or Monday of next week,
Okay.
I'd be okay with that, as long as we've just made a verbal agreement here at council. We can pass it forward with those changes and then get the written.
Is everyone good with
later.
that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay.
Alternatively, if you could make those changes real quick or have someone make them and send it to me, I could look at them tonight if that's easier.
I don't think we have that capacity.
We actually don't have to do that. We can just pass it with the changes made.
That was suggested to me, so I just wanted to make sure I communicated that. So, okay, that's fine.
And Mr.
Everyone's
Farrar,
good
I'm
with
so
that?
sorry that you weren't invited, but thank you for your time. I appreciate it very, very much.
I think he was invited.
Okay,
actually.
maybe you just couldn't make it, but
Well,
thank
I
you.
want to apologize. I reached out to Mayor Russell today to see if I should be there, and I wasn't sure, and I ultimately said, well, it'll probably be better if I'm not there, so that they have a full and frank discussion without me present, not anticipating all these questions. So I will fall on that sword for not being there.
No. Well, thanks for being a part of the full and frank discussion. Thank you so very much. Appreciate it.
Yep. Anything else?
No, sir.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you all.
Okay,
Okay, I think with all of that done, if I may, I think we can make a motion to move this forward to
Special meeting.
Special meeting with the changes that we've all agreed to.
do we have a 2nd?
I'll second.
Okay, roll call?
Misty,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Daniel,
Yes.
Amber,
Yes.
Tim.
Yes.
Moving to special.
Okay, item C, a discussion of a resolution to appeal Resolution 2015-01-505R regarding attorney contract. I believe this is going to be Mr. Montez and Mayor.
I only see my name next to it, but
Well, what happened is actually there was a different resolution, an alternative resolution, and Maddie put them into one category. So,
gotcha. Well, yes, I brought you back the resolution that was tabled at the last COW. Basically repealing that resolution that prohibits city council from actually engaging with the mayor or with the attorney and leaves that only to the mayor. I think that needed to be thrown out a while ago because that's not been the standard operating procedure with our previous council. I did have a lot of opposition and had some department heads come to me with a revisement of a section 3, which prohibited them from going to the attorney and going to the mayor and having the mayor talk on their behalf. So I've removed that section from my resolution. And I just put it before y'all to see if you wanted to pass it to city council.
Okay, so yesterday, we received 2 of these by email, and they look so similar. I know there are some differences, but I'm having a difficult time telling what the major differences are between the two. On one of them, it says that in 2015, there was a resolution that was adopted that said only the mayor can contact the city attorney and restricted city council members, staff, consultants, and citizens from communicating with legal counsel. You want to strike that? Is that correct?
Yes, yeah, see, I didn't have an opportunity to look at that email that came through. I have them printed out in front of me. One is mine, and I'm assuming the other one is what is being discussed as the mayor's also attached to this discussion item. I don't see that one removing that restriction, that resolution. It just is it's almost like a revisement of of a resolution. It's its own second.
Okay, then let me try to be a little more clear in my question. I'm sorry. Toward the bottom of the first, what I believe is the first page here, there are two whereases, several whereases. It's the second whereas from the bottom. It says the city may lawfully regulate employee communication with legal counsel under the mayor's administrative authority provided in ACA 14-43-504. What does that mean exactly, that the city will lawfully regulate employee communication? Or maybe I'm asking the wrong person.
No, I'm asking the right person.
Yeah, that part probably was part of the section 3 that has been removed. It says right there, it says nothing in this resolution. If you look on the second page, section 3, nothing in this resolution shall restrict, interfere, or the right of any council member to directly request legal advice from the city attorney regarding matters related to official city business.
Okay.
So that's been revised. That whereas probably needs to be omitted.
But this is changing the language on that resolution, which was originally adopted in 2015?
Correct.
Okay. 11 years ago today. All right. Happy anniversary.
Oh, thank you.
I'm sorry? And then that no contract for legal services shall be valid unless approved by vote of the council, and that the mayor shall not execute, amend, or extend any attorney engagement letter or contract without prior council approval. There's nothing in that one that bothers me, and okay, so I guess I'll be asking the mayor when we get to that point. But okay, thank you, council member.
Well, Mayor, do you want to go ahead and go over yours?
Yes, I would like to, but what I would like to do is have the attorney look at both of these. I think that it is very important that there's specific wording in here, and I think it needs legal counsel before it is passed in any capacity. So I would advise, and same as I did last month, that we wait until we get an attorney that can actually look at each of these to go over them and then go from there.
I've got no problem with that, but I certainly do. I think it's important that Section 1 of Mr. Montez's, the repeal of Resolution 2015-01-505R stays in whatever one we get.
Oh, absolutely.
Repeal in its entirety that resolution. It was not good. I think we discussed that at the last meeting. So I've got no problem with attorneys' eyes looking at these, meshing them to make a more cohesive, singular document.
Yeah, I don't have a problem at all with what I think is Mr. Montez's document. Just as I was highlighting, again, I'm trying to find things that stick out. And I don't at all disagree with the mayor. I think we absolutely need to have our new legal counsel look at this. However, between now and when that legal counsel looks at it and gives us an opinion, we still have a resolution that's not awesome. And so I'd be more inclined to try to pass this through now. And again, it might all be rectified by city council anyway. And then we can always change a resolution any old time. Would you be amenable to that?
Okay, the resolution that I have, council authority is reaffirmed so that Danny's concern is addressed.
And where's that? Whereas number 2 on page 1.
Where we take out,
The city council desires to reaffirm its statutory authority while ensuring efficient access to legal services for city officials, employees, and departments.
well, it reaffirms the city council. What I was trying to say is the part that Mr. Washkowiak was talking about is taken out. So Danny's concern is addressed.
But where is that in your document?
It's not in there because I took it out.
Okay, I'm suddenly confused. What was it, Mr. Wishkowiak, that you wanted removed?
I want the repeal of resolution, section 1, the repeal of resolution 2015-01505R. I'll see if I can pull it up real quick and just read it.
Right, which was taken out, which will address Danny's concern.
And how does it address Councilmember Montez's concern?
Because it is removed.
Okay, I see that it's not here, but I don't
think
see
this
the
is
fix.
the reason why we need to have the attorney look at it and explain everything legally to us. I think that would be the wisest decision. Like I said, what Mr. Wishkowiak was talking about that needed to be taken out hasn't been taken out. That's why it's not in here.
Okay, what was it, Mr. Wishkowiak, that you asked to have taken out?
On my resolution, it's within the document. I think what Mr. Burris is asking is, in your document, where does it annotate that being part of your resolution? But you don't have it within your resolution?
Whereas the city council desires to reaffirm in statutory authority while ensuring efficient access to legal services for city officials, employees, and departments. And
Is it
whereas the
section
city
2?
recognizes the need for timely legal consultation by the police department, planning department, and other municipal offices in order to carry out essential duties. So again, I think that it is very wise if we wait until we have an attorney and we have legal advice before we continue with this.
Yeah, I'd rather not pass a resolution and make changes to the resolution the next month. I'd rather get it right the first time.
I agree.
So,
So we'll make a motion to table until attorneys can look at this and put
Yeah.
something together.
yeah, I'll make that motion to table.
I'll second.
Want to table it to the next cow?
So in the meantime then, do I or do I not have authority to talk to our new attorney?
No.
We already talked to the attorney.
We always have.
You'll get incarcerated.
So-
Don't do it.
You're
Would
gonna
you,
throw me in jail for that, okay.
we could, until the council meeting, I think we could. Would y'all rather council meeting or Cal? Would y'all want to discuss this again, or
I don't
you good
think
with
we
getting
need
a
to
good
discuss it.
resolution?
If we can get a good resolution within the next week, I think we
Okay.
can
Then I'll
vote
table
on it
to
at city council.
the council meeting this month.
I mean, I don't have no opposition to much of either of these, but I'd like to see just one combined, so.
Yeah. Okay, roll call. Did we get a second?
I
Yes.
did.
Yes.
Okay, roll call.
Amber,
Yes.
Daniel,
No.
Tim?
This is to table it
Yes,
to
to the next city
city
council.
council versus dealing with it now.
Because we will have legal advice.
Right. Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Misty,
Yes.
table to the next city council.
Okay, moving on to new business. A presentation regarding Brush Creek Sewer dash CMAR process. James or Garver, whoever.
Good evening. Good to see you, Mr. Craig. It's good to be seen. Going forward this year, we're going to be taking on this Brush Creek Sewer project that I've talked about a little bit. This is the one that Congressman Womack has got us the money to complete. There's a couple of different ways to do it. One of them is a regular build process, but there's also another process that some of the other cities and entities, 2-ton is using right now. It's called CMAR process, construction management at risk. Don't know if y'all are familiar with that. That's the reason I have Mr. Kruger here this evening from Garver. he's going to kind of go over that process with you. So going forward, there may not be as many questions as there could be. So with that, I'll give you Mr. Kruger.
Good evening. Appreciate you giving me the opportunity to talk to you all and educate you a little bit about how construction management at risk is a viable delivery option for projects. You can go ahead and advance to the next slide. So over the next few minutes here, I'm going to kind of give you an overview of what construction management at risk is, kind of show some of the impacts from using that, and close with some specifics about how it might impact the Brush Creek project. Next. Go ahead. So just kind of refresher, in traditional design bid build, the owner hires an engineer to take the design to complete 100%. You probably have to click a little bit for the animations here, sorry. Engineer solicits, you can slow down here. Engineer solicits the bids from qualified contractors, and that's what the contractor's bidding on, 100% documents, and it's very prescriptive, telling you exactly what they're bidding on. If there's issues there, the owner pretty much takes on any risk outside of what's prescribed. Construction manager at risk uses the same approach to procure your design engineer. Where the difference comes in is you bring on that construction manager, contractor procurement is completed prior to completion of design. So it's early engagement of that contractor to help collaborate on the actual project and better define it and address some of those unknowns. So the teams work together with the owner to help optimize the delivery process. Next slide there. You still have, I want to clarify, you still have a separate contract between your engineer and owner and your contractor. There's no contractor, but no contract between the engineer and contractor. The construction manager at risk in this approach is responsible for development of what we call a guaranteed maximum price for scope of work at the prescribed time. You can ask them for that particular GMP, abbreviated, as early as 30%, or when the project's pretty much designed, and you can break it up into packages and have work packages with that guaranteed maximum price for the agreed upon package. If you ask for it earlier, they typically will carry a little more contingency for some of the risk in the design process and those unknowns. What CMAR does is it engages contractors and their resources for pre-construction services, and that's something that you don't see in conventional hard bid jobs. Some of those factors that impact that pre-construction fee and that new service that you get from construction management risk are the size and complexity of the job, the scope of work that you're asking them to do. An example would be permitting. So you kind of really transparency in this process. You have the discussions on who's doing what. You get what you pay for. The schedule, how fast do you want it built? A lot of things can happen faster. You just got to pay for it. Risk management. The idea is that you work together to identify those risks, identify the entity that's going to assume those risks, and develop contingencies and costs associated with those and managing those. And ultimately, you know, we're in an environment where the market conditions are influencing the cost of work right now, and good thing for the contractors, there's a lot of work going on, so they are able to get a little bit higher margins on their work these days. Next slide. So talking about impacts associated with construction management risk, current market conditions, I kind of talked about this. Contractors find collaborative delivery being more attractive than traditional design bid build. Some of the reasons they like collaborative delivery is there's the transparency in the process. They're able to voice their concerns. There's open forums. You kind of have good discussions in a well-organized project. They are also able to be selected off of qualifications in this process. You're asking them for a proposal instead of asking them to give you the lowest bid price and selecting off that. You can ask for their pre-construction fee and get what's called a best value selection, a combination of cost and their proposal. Essentially, again, that transparency philosophy, you give them an understanding of what the criteria you're looking for and the weights of those criteria so that they can best respond to the RFP. It's more collaborative, less adversarial. It encourages working together, and they're able to, identify what kind of resources are there. This one kind of animates through as well. So under CMAR, owners are involved throughout the project and establish those critical elements in the process. essentially, this kind of shows sequentially the planning. You start with your engineer, you get that project defined well enough that you've got a concept. The earlier you bring on the CMAR contractor, the more opportunity there is for them to have buy-in and less risk for the need to go back and do value engineering and rework on the design side. If you have people working together early on in the design stages, you'll see the roles there. Really after you get that design procurement complete and the strategy, your engineer can help you with the procurement of the CMAR. Again, their contract's separate, so as needed, if that's something that you're interested in, there's a one-step process to do an RFP, or if you want to use a two-step process and do a short list, there's an RFQ followed by an RFP. Interviews are optional. Just some of the highlights there. Next slide. So one of the things CMAR delivery does is keeps the design team and contractor contractually separate while fostering that collaborative environment. Some of the benefits and associated factors in this is you get an early cost certainty with the detailed cost model. You're going to ask them for initial cost, and there's no reason for them to come in day one and say, hey, I got this, I'm going to meet your budget, or I'm going to get this cost. They're going to come in with a level of contingency, and the idea is that you work together to identify what they're carrying contingency for, and if there's ways to identify those risks and answer those questions so that they can lower that contingency. They can perform early work packages in pre-construction to better answer some of those ideas and help accelerate the schedule. This project's less critical for some of the equipment procurement. Projects involving long lead items, there's a benefit to construction management risk. You can actually have the contractor procure those materials, pay for that ahead of the actual construction so that it doesn't become the critical path. Those risks are identified early, and stakeholders can assist with mitigation strategies. A good practice is to develop the risk register based on what the risk is, how likely that risk is to happen, and the magnitude of impact if it does happen. And that helps you identify what to do to establish a contingency potentially for that perceived risk. And then ultimately, again, the idea is identify who's best suited to manage those risks, have them come up with a mitigation strategy to where maybe you can take some steps in that pre-construction phase or just have a plan in place to lower the likelihood of that risk and lower that score on that. Early contractor engagement is one of those things, again, in the competitive market. They're going to be more innovative with their solutions if they're up front in the design and looking at constructability. They're also going to provide more collaborative solutions in that process, and they want to know about these projects. A lot of times solicitation will require 30 days notice or maybe a little bit longer for funding requirements, but these contractors, they want to know what's coming out 6 months from now. They want to have it on their radar, and it's good to coordinate with them so they can kind of give you some feedback on where things are. So if there's a little bit of flexibility in when you advertise your project so that you're not competing with someone else, that early contractor engagement helps with that. And again, this allows for a phased delivery approach. If you have critical work that needs to happen earlier, you can prioritize that and get them to produce a guaranteed maximum price for that work and give them the green light to move forward with it, and then move forward with the next phase. And sometimes funds encumbered are a deal breaker or a delay in being able to do the whole project, and you can bite off pieces as needed with GMP packages. That delivery keeps the design team and contractor, we talked about that, they're separate, so less concern for the oversight there. The engineers still intended to be making sure they design what's best for your city and make sure that the project moves forward. Next slide. So CMAR delivery does require additional money for additional scope and transfer of that risk. So pre-construction services, these are just some ranges. Market conditions can fluctuate a little bit, but essentially you're bringing them on. Again, it's not something you see in the hard bid environment. So you're looking at 0.5% to 5% of the cost of work. Again, a function of what you're asking them to do during that pre-construction phase. General conditions, that's pretty similar in both projects. You're going to have general conditions that they'll carry for some of those necessary items to complete the work. Overhead and profit, we're seeing that 15 to 20% and maybe even a little higher right now on some other projects. And with CMAR, the idea is you draft a contract on what you would like for things to be and give it to them during the procurement process, and you get their feedback and you can negotiate those terms. And if you want to say, hey, I really need you to come down on this, then they can say, well, let's cut this out of our services. We don't have to do this, and kind of work together to match your budgets and needs. Construction fees, you typically see markups on subs. With construction manager at risk, best practices, some of these contractors will come in and act as a broker and just manage the construction and bid everything out. Some of them want to self-perform it. There's no real requirement in the state of Arkansas to limit the self-performance. Some states have some other requirements, but it's just kind of a value of what do you want the contractor to do? Do you think there's a need to have someone manage this, or do you want it bid out? And allowances and contingencies are something that you work together to identify those different items with the contractor and the engineer to work together on those. Next slide. So how CMAR can impact the Brush Creek Sewer Project. Really, this diagram shows that investment on the front end has a bigger impact than trying to manage unforeseen issues during construction. That early engagement, identifying what those risks are, and trying to mitigate them. This graph shows that the earlier on you do that, the more impact you can have. And if you just kind of have something come up after the job's already under construction and it wasn't thought about, then it's usually going to cost more, and there's less you can do if you wait later, is the takeaway from this. Risk can be transferred to the entity best suited to management. Material selection, we're talking about a pipeline here. Most of the time with a gravity sewer line, it's pretty straightforward on the materials, but the contractors do this day in, day out. They may have some insight on a better price for material or a suitable material for you, and have that discussion on what makes sense for your project. The alignment, you're getting pretty close to Cave Springs and not too far from Elm Springs, and there's been some work in this area where groundwater has been a concern. There can actually be some pre-construction services to do some investigation of sites and identify what's anticipated there. Also look at the alignment, property owners, easements, land acquisition, all those things can really impact the process. And bringing a contractor on, you can transfer some of those risks and the responsibilities to the contractor. And ultimately the schedule. Bringing a contractor on earlier, they're going to help you optimize the delivery schedule, speed it up if need to, prioritize those critical elements and move that project forward. And that's really real quick hitter. I could talk to you all day about this stuff if you'd like, but just wanted to kind of give you a quick overview of how construction management risk works and how it might be able to help your project out. Any questions?
So one of the very first things you said, by the way, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah.
One of the very first things you said was that we can work in a cap, for lack of a better word, in when we're negotiating these things, that we can say that we're doing something not to exceed a certain level. Does that work across the board in every area? And what happens if something goes outside that scope?
So really the idea is, you know, if I say a cap, you can negotiate things, obviously. There's more room for negotiations, discussions, and feedback as opposed to a hard bid environment. You have everything, you're very prescriptive, and they just have to take it. And you can put some stuff in there that has a cover yourself and puts more risk on them and contingency, but contractors don't assume risk, they price it. So when we talk about these risks and where to balance it, the idea is these discussions, the review of a contract template up front, you get the feedback on, well, if you put this in there, I'm going to put this in there to cover that cost. But if you're willing to take this, I'm willing to cut this out so that you can have some of those
I think
negotiations there.
that's fair and appropriate. Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Any other questions? If council would be agreeable, I've had a request for a little 5-minute bathroom break. And just for your information, these bathrooms are out of order, so you'll have to use the park restrooms. So I think some of these other discussions may be a little bit longer, so I don't want to wait till after the meeting. No other questions? Okay, thank you. James, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Just quickly, I just wanted to introduce you to this process. Like I said, there's some other entities doing it right now, and it really makes a lot of sense. As you know, we've done the conventional design bid build, gone with the low bidder, and that's becoming more and more of an issue. I know of several projects going on right now where they're a year over their time. And it really gets messy when you start trying to call a bond on a contractor. And we're kind of at that point with the NACA project. I wish that would have gone as a Seymour project. I think, for one thing, I think you attract a different quality of contractors. So anyway, just wanted to throw that out there.
Would that be a higher quality?
Yes, that's exactly what I mean.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, James. All right, with that being said, if you are okay, we'll just take a 5-minute break. the meeting.
Councilmember Ibarra, thank you for letting us use your home. That was nice. The walk was long, but we'll be over for dinner Saturday night. I
Yes.
think you're all invited.
Steak. Oh, come on. All right, we're going to move on to item B, a discussion of water weight increase for 2026. Mr. James.
All right, so you have the information in your packet. I'm looking at this proposed rate increase sheet. So basically what we're proposing, or what I'm proposing, is a 10% overall increase. On the proposed sheet, this shows you how much our rate increase is coming from our supplier, from Tontitown. It's 35 cents per thousand. And then the breakdown of that is that's a 6% increase by itself. So the red numbers at the bottom are the final rate, and that's including for residential an additional 4% for maintenance and operations. Does that make sense? So you understand the, okay. And other than that, of course, we are still using Waterworth as a forecasting tool, basically trying to follow that to keep our line above board. And they projected for residential this year 3%. If we do 4, maybe we won't have to do an increase next year, other than what we pass on through from the supplier. Any questions on that? I mean, it's...
So what you're proposing is in the red.
Correct.
And on Exhibit A, the water service rates, there it has meter rates, underwater fees. Those tap fees, is there any change to what we're looking at on Exhibit A?
No, there are no changes in the ordinance other than just the rates. Inside and outside city limits, residential, commercial, and industrial.
So we probably need to deal with the tap stuff at another time.
Right now, we're good on the tap fees. You know, we just raised those last year, or actually that was done in January of 25. So yeah, that was last year.
And you and I have talked a lot about this, both publicly and privately, about how I don't love raising rates unless we need to, but I also don't like rates being lower than they need to be because we aren't a charity, right? We're not operating as a nonprofit. We're a not-for-profit, perhaps would be a better way of putting it, in a municipality. But with that said, are you comfortable with these numbers being what they are, where they are? Does it get us to the point where we're making enough money? Or are we still making money on the coffee and not the donuts?
Well, this is the coffee. So yes, simply, the answer is yes.
We're increasing the cost on a cup of coffee.
Correct.
1,000 gallons at a time. Not bad.
That's right. That's right. And 1,000 gallons is only $6.46.
Not bad. Better than Starbucks.
Yeah, by thousands of dollars. But yeah, so of course, next year, like I say, I would like to keep the same rates and just pass on the 2-ton increase. These are the numbers I used for my budget this year. We'll see how that works out. Hopefully, like I said, we don't have to increase, but we know we're going to see an increase from 2-ton pretty much every year.
Okay, so I'm okay with all that. And perhaps this isn't the time for the question, but when are we going to talk about the donuts?
So that's the sewer rates. We will be talking about those again in the fall. If you remember, we did.
I do. I'd rather talk about it before the fall. It's a bit of a setup question, but perhaps we can talk about that sooner. But your idea is to talk about it in the fall.
Yeah, I really, personally, I hate to do more than one rate increase a year.
But we're going to have to do one of these a year anyway if 2-ton keeps increasing.
Sure, every year we will have to increase. But like I said, we just did the sewer rates in October, I believe.
Still at a loss.
But this is, the water rates are subsidizing that. So overall, water and sewer, yes, they are separate accounts in one account, the water account. So it's, we ended the year profitable by about $300,000.
But it's because of the water rate. So my point is, if we're
Right.
raising water rates because we're increasing the cost of water so that we can keep the price of sewer at a loss, I'm not crazy about raising
Right.
those
Well,
rates to do that. I'd rather they each sort of pull their own weight.
Exactly. And we're getting there. And I think with the next sewer rate increase, we will be there.
But if the water rates are already doing their part in pulling their own weight,
Mhm.
then why would we increase them?
Because costs are still going up. I mean, they're doing their part right now. But by the end of this year, they may not be. And that's where the Waterworth model that we've been able to build in the increase amount, and what it's, the way it's showing right now is a 3% increase per year. Now, that gets us up a little bit higher than what we absolutely have to be.
Is that model different than the last time you showed us the Waterworth model?
No.
Okay.
No.
So we've got to copy
We've
that.
added the new budget numbers, but yeah, it's relatively the same.
Okay. I would love to see a new copy with the new budget numbers,
Sure.
if you don't mind that. But thank you. I have no further questions.
Okay.
Does anyone else have any questions?
If you would indulge me just a few minutes longer.
Yeah.
I have a special guest here tonight, and one of the things that we're going to try to accomplish this year is, well, we're going to accomplish getting started with our AMI system, automated meter reading. We have been working with David Spiegler with Spiegler Group. He is a consultant that does well, in this case, system modernization for water metering. So I'm going to give him a few minutes, if it's all right, and let him kind of go over where we are in that process.
Thank you. Good evening. It's a pleasure to have the opportunity to speak with you. I have a presentation here that I believe is 20 slides long, and what I would ask of you is if you have any questions as I go through, please interrupt me as I go through, because if you try and remember a question on slide 2 to slide 20, it may be difficult. So I'm happy to take questions as they go along.
Thank you.
Next slide, please. So what we've done, just to give you some background, before we just went in and identified metering system, there's a lot of different metering companies out there and who Tontitown could buy its next metering system from. Rather than just deciding we're going to move forward with an AMI, advanced metering infrastructure project, and selecting a vendor, what we wanted to do first is do some due diligence and identify whether it was feasible, economically feasible, operationally feasible, whether it would offer benefits. And also, as we think about metering, we didn't want to just limit ourselves to metering, because as I like to refer, the water meter is the cash register on the side of the house. The question is, what else can we do with it besides just having a cash register on the side of the house? How can we utilize the data to improve system operations? So for example, we were just, James just talking about the need for rate increase now and potentially in the future. The question is, how can we offset some of those in the future? If we have better information, we can reduce our capital spend, for example, reduce water losses and things like that. So I won't go into all of the verbiage that's in the slide, but the basic idea is what we did was we modeled out an entire system modernization strategy. We gathered data from Tontitown, pulled all that information together, modeled it out, and came up with a plan that paid for itself. So the key issue is that we came up with a plan for advanced metering and some related elements that go with it, in which the project would pay for itself over a 10-year period of time. It was about $1.25 million, not just for the metering system, but for other elements as well. The metering is a piece of that, and offers some very attractive rates of return in the aggregate. Next slide, please. So what we did when I mentioned some of those other elements associated with beyond the cash register on the side of the house, we looked at customer-facing applications, things like having connect-disconnect capabilities, so we wouldn't have to drive a truck every time we wanted to disconnect, either because of non-payment or because someone moved out. Putting in place an ERP process improvement to streamline the processing of bills and some of those issues, and also possibly putting in place a prepayment system. On the system-facing side, we looked at asset management, leak detection, pressure modulation, response management platform, upgrading the SCADA system, putting in place a smart pumping algorithm to change the pumping schedule, and look at automated water quality analysis tools. Next slide, please. And what we've done here, and I know there's a lot of numbers on this slide here, but what we did is ran all of the data through our model to evaluate what's the cost, both upfront and capital costs, as well as recurring operational expense, as well as the system benefits that we would achieve by implementing these different use cases. And we rank ordered them. So leak detection, there's a very high leak rate here in Tontitown. So putting in place some sensors that very possibly could be part of the metering system to gather system data, identify water loss, where water losses are happening. So potentially we're losing up to 30% of the water right now on the system. So we want to be able to reduce that down. So that's the number one NPV, net present value, of all of these different use cases. You can see on that second to right-hand column, the numbers start large and then work their way down and then ultimately into the negative. The positive use cases are the ones that pencil out, the ones that are negative don't. And so we would recommend considering those ones at the top, but it all starts with the advanced metering and beginning with that process. Next slide, please. So what we've done is based on those model results, we came up with a potential long-term plan of what this might look like. So leak detection clearly is a win because of the very high leak rates that we have on the water distribution system. Connect disconnect capabilities, having those meters that would allow staff to remotely disconnect meters when needed. That would be part of the AMI initiative. A SCADA upgrade is possible. Now, there's some things that are already happening behind the scenes, so it may not be needed, but that bears some monitoring as we go forward. Response management is a way to put together a platform that when there are things that happen, we need to issue work orders to be able to dispatch crews to go out into the field. It basically unifies that platform and streamlines a lot of the efforts there. Smart pumping is a maybe. It has a positive value, but barely a positive one. So that's a maybe. We can monitor that in the future. And then the ones that are negative are probably a no, because they don't justify, they're not cost justified. Next slide. So what you see here is the front page of the model that we built. And what you can see is again, it shows a 10-year pro forma in terms of all of the system benefits that would come from the AMI, the customer-facing use cases, the system-facing use cases, the operational expenses, the earnings, the depreciation, the net income, all the sources of capital that would be needed to fund these different elements, the cash flow on an annual basis, and the cash flow on a cumulative basis. At the bottom, you can see the net present value, which is a very strong positive number, internal rate of return, over 20%, in the peak funding as well. So there's a lot of elements that we've considered as part of this. And the next series of slides just show that information graphically. So here you can see the green bars, the light green bars are the benefits for that particular year. The dark green is the operating expense. The orange shows a positive earnings all the way through. The blue shows a net income negative for the first 2 years, actually the first 3 years, and then goes positive after that. The project benefits, you can see where the sources are. So the green is the AMI, the advanced metering piece. That blue is the customer-facing applications, and the purple is the system-facing applications. Again, a lot of that benefit is coming from that leak detection because of that high leak rate. The project capital, so the AMI is that blue, so it's a big investment up front to be able to buy new meters and put a new system in place. We have modeled this out based on a 5-year deployment schedule. This is not mandatory. We can do it in 3 years. We can do it in 10 years. We can do it as meters fail, replace them. So, but we, just for the purpose of this illustration, we ran it a 5-year deployment period. And if we did that in a 5-year deployment, if we invested in not just the meters, but these other use cases as well that were positive, this is what the capital investment would look like. It's about $370,000 in year one, and then about $200,000 to $225,000 a year for the next 4 years, and that's much smaller amounts thereafter. Now, I want to emphasize what we're looking at, and I'm going to segue in a moment to just the metering piece. That's just a segment of that. So if we just are, and what James and I have been, we had an interview with one of the finalists for the metering solution this afternoon. We have another one tomorrow morning. If we decide to just start with that, those investment dollars are going to be significantly lower than what you're seeing here. But this is just for the kind of the big picture. And this shows what the capital, if we did all of those different pieces, the green bars show the cash flow for that particular year. The blue shows the cumulative funding that's needed. So you can see where in the first 5 years, a lot of money is going into being invested. So you see negative cash flow. So that blue keeps getting worse and worse. And then once you hit year 6, the project becomes self-financing where the benefits are far outpacing the expenses, and you can see it gets better until year 10 where it turns positive and you get full system payback.
May I interrupt? I'm sorry.
Oh, of course.
You can go back to slide. Thank you, Madeline. So the cash flows are down for 5 years, 6 years before we start making some money off of these investments. And that's presuming that we made the right choice to begin with. We don't need to buy other.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
So that's kind of a big maybe, right?
Right.
I mean, at least for me.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So how do we get past that when every industry is changing at a breakneck pace?
Yeah. So it's an excellent question. So just to give you some background, and I didn't introduce myself fully at the beginning. So the Spiegel Group is a consulting firm that's worked with over 300 different systems across the country over the last 24 years. This September will be 25 years. So what the basis for the data is not just Tontitown's data and James did an excellent job in providing us with a lot of very detailed information about the system operations, but it's also based on historical things that we've seen on 299 other systems across the country to see if we were to implement, for example, the 30% water loss rate, what kind of impacts could we get from that? Obviously, there's no way to know for sure. We're going to put equipment in, we're going to use acoustic sensors to monitor where the losses are and then fix those issues. What we're forecasting, things could be better, things could be worse. But based on the experience from 299 or 300 plus other systems across the country, we have a good basis for understanding what the realities of what we think we can achieve there. So it's a combination of real data from folks that have already done this and Tontitown specific information pulled together. So when we having done this for almost 25 years now, we've had the opportunity to see the plans that we put in place and then see the results afterwards. And what is very common, we tend to be very conservative in our modeling because I like to say we don't like to leave the low-cost bidder on this thing. We're not bidding on these projects, but we don't want to come in at lower costs and lower benefits than and higher benefits than what we're ultimately going to achieve. So we tend to overestimate a little bit on the cost and underestimate on the benefits somewhat to make sure that we've got coverage here. So I think what you're seeing here is certainly nothing is without risk. But this is a fairly safe bet that it's at least this good and possibly could be quite a bit better.
And that's wonderful, but it doesn't completely address my question. It was a great answer.
Okay.
To not my question.
Okay.
Perhaps you could be a politician in your own right, too. That'd be fine.
I don't think that'll happen.
Yeah. So maybe you just can't answer this at all.
Yeah.
But as things change.
Right.
If we need to spend other monies, et cetera. I do get your point, and it was a
Right.
fine answer. It really was. But is it just there's no way of knowing that? I mean, is AI changing everything, right?
Yeah, the short answer is that there's no way to know what the future will hold. The crystal ball that we have only works so well. We know that the good news is that with a lot of the system capabilities, generally as the world is changing with things like AI, for example, that costs are coming down per unit of benefit being generated. For example, computers 10 years ago are today they're much cheaper than they were, even though they have more horsepower, and they're greater capabilities. So we can't know that for sure. There could be a shock to the system in the future that we don't foresee right now. But having done this for 25 years, we've seen a lot of those changes already happen. And so that's why I answered the prior way is that using that track record, we think that the future is likely going to be an extension of the past. It won't be the same as the past, but it's going to extend based on the experience we've had before.
And so of those 299, that's roughly one a month for 25 years. And by the way, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
an interesting time to start, September of 2001.
Yes, September 1st of 2001, yeah, 10 days before, yes.
Right. With all that, how many of these 299 do you have a 5-year look back on at this particular point in time?
Well, more than half of them. I mean, in the last 5 years, we've probably introduced, I'm going to guess, probably 50 or 60 of this. So there's probably about 250 of them that we have 5 years plus of experience with.
So a large data set.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. So one of the key pieces of going back to that concept of how do we address some of those issues and how do we get more value out of the system other than just the cash register on the side of the house, what we're advocating is as we put a metering system and as we pull these other systems, we want to be able to aggregate the data together. So when James and I had the meeting with the first vendor this afternoon, one of the questions that came up that we asked and will come up in tomorrow's discussion as well is, yes, we understand the meter to cash. We understand that you can deliver that. How do we utilize that data in your system to be able to deliver other capabilities? For example, we spoke specifically about the high water losses that are happening on the distribution system. We want to be able to identify those issues. So what we're advocating for is a unified system that's going to tie in all of the existing systems so we don't have to strip out and buy a whole bunch of new systems. It's leveraging the investments that have already been made alongside this data and pulling all that information together. Next slide, please. So the process going forward, once a vendor is selected, is we've already gone through step one, which is the planning phase. The business design will be the next elements. The next element, I often refer to that as the requirements. We're thinking through work processes and how do we, if we have advanced systems where we don't have to do as much manual work, we can start utilizing some of that information as part of the business design. Then going into technical design, and then going into test plans. So once we've selected a vendor and we start deploying, before we just go out and build everything out, build out the whole system, we start testing it out. We go through system testing, we go through UAT, which is user acceptance testing, to make sure everything is working. And then and only then do we go ahead and go live with the system. So one of the things that we're looking at, besides just the cost of the system, of the vendors that have provided proposals to us, and just the meter to cash, are these key elements here. How well can we monitor the system? Because again, there's a lot of work that has to be done. A lot of vendors are sometimes guilty of just saying it all works and set it and forget it. It's not set and forget it. It requires ongoing vigilance and maintenance. So what kind of monitoring capabilities do we have? How is the system managed? And how do we get data analytics to be able to provide additional value for us? So some of the things that we've recommended as part of this process is upgrading the metering system, put the disconnect meters under glass to be able to reduce some of the requirements there. Think about ultrasonic meters, which is a different kind of meter that it doesn't have moving parts, so it doesn't wear down as quickly. It's a little more expensive, but we've run the numbers and the payback we think on that extra investment is about 3 years. So we think that may be worthwhile. It's something we can negotiate with the vendors and explore that. Look at data management as a way to unify all that information. Think about acoustic leak sensors to couple with the metering system to be able to identify why we're losing so much water. And look at some response management to be able to streamline the work orders that are happening. And then as we're going through that, let's think through some of the processes about the way in which data is worked or utilized. If we get a brand new metering system and some of these other elements as well, but we continue to operate in the same way that we've done to this point, we won't leverage the full value of these systems. And since it is a significant investment, we wanted to be able to make sure that we're capable of doing that. So the goal here is to go through an iterative process of looking at the data management, of the reporting, of alerts, of a managed approach, and having a results-driven architecture. And again, I'll use that phrase of the cash register on the side of the house. The goal is not to just have that. We want to have a source of data so that every meter that's out there is reporting on the health and status of the entire water distribution system across the entire town. So where we are in the process, we conducted an assessment first, which is not on this slide. So the first thing, everything I've just shared with you is the assessment. Then we went into requirements to document all the things we'd want this metering system to do. we're in the procurement phase. We issued an RFP. We sent it out to 5 different leading vendors in the industry that fit the requirements that we had. We got proposals from all 5 of them. We've then shortlisted down to the 2 that we think best fit what we're looking for and offered the most compelling solution. And then the end of the procurement phase will be a determination of which vendor we want to go with. After that, we'll then work with that vendor to identify the plan, how we're going to implement this. Is it over 3 years? Is it over 5 years? Do we do this side of town first and then that side of town? However, that's going to be architected, and then go into the deployment. So what we have done is, this is a screenshot of the front page of the RFP that went out. On the right hand, you can see the schedule of what we've done, and we've stuck to that schedule everywhere. So we issued the RFP at the end of October. We had a bidders conference that was virtual among the 5 bidders. We had a Q&A period. We received the proposals back in mid-December. We evaluated those proposals. We gave notifications to the 2 vendors we selected for shortlist, and the interviews of the finalists are happening today and tomorrow. So this slide here shows the results of the bids that we got from those 5 proposals. Now, what you'll notice, a couple things, there's more than 5 dots on here because some of the vendors gave us different solutions. For example, one of the vendor we met with today gave us 3 different proposals. There are 3 different possible solutions. What we did, the Spiegel Group did, is we ran an analysis of every proposal that was submitted and every permutation. The x-axis shows the functionality, so we scored how well did they match with what we were looking for, and the y-axis shows the total cost of ownership over the life of the thing. And so in a perfect world, we're looking for dots that are to the right and as low as possible. So the ones that we selected were Hennard Badger. Hennard's the distributor and Badger's the meter manufacturer, and Schulte Neptune. So those are the 2 base that are on the far right. They had the highest functionality and both had reasonable prices. You'll see a couple of prices that are high with the Hennard just because those are extra, added with some add-ons that we probably don't need, but we may select pieces of it in select portions. So my last slide is where we go from here is we've already conducted 1 shortlist interview today. We're conducting the second one tomorrow. We are conducting reference checks on both vendors, so we have a list of references from each, so we're in the process. Actually, those reference checks begin tomorrow, so we're going to be speaking with other systems, other towns, both in Arkansas and elsewhere that have utilized these 2 vendors and to see what their experiences have been. We'll then move toward making a recommendation as to which is the preferred vendor to move forward with and engage in contract negotiations and sign a contract. And then once that happens is work with that chosen vendor to finalize the network design, develop the plan, and then work through the system integration and start thinking about how to optimize and generate some of the results. And that's my last slide.
I have an indelicate question.
Yes.
I will not ask how much you made in the last fiscal quarter. So just so you know, I'm not going to ask that.
Okay.
But I am going to ask how you get paid, how you get compensated to help us, which it sounds like you're providing a lot of value. But how do you get paid to help?
So we and I sat through the discussion you had with the lawyer. We do not bill by the hour. We actually do fixed fee. So
what? There's a cap, like a max?
There's a not even a cap.
I'm being silly.
Yeah. No, there's just a fixed fee. It's just one number. So what we did was
it's a different thing. I understand.
Yeah. So what we did for the assessment, we had a fixed fee, and that's all it was. And then for this second phase, we had was the same amount, a second fixed fee for just that amount. And that's the way we do it. Now we have projects.
So you're not getting paid by the vendor.
Oh no, that would be a conflict of interest. No,
I would imagine so as well.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no. So we do not get compensated by vendors. It's only by our clients.
Okay.
Absolutely. Now, when we get involved in beyond this, where some of our clients ask us to help manage and project manage it, then it's just a monthly recurring. And again, it's just a fixed amount per month.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Sure.
By the way, delicate answer to an indelicate question.
Okay.
Thank you.
Does anyone?
Someone that works in a world where we're constantly tailored new tools that do all the big shiny things. I like the looking at all the different ways of doing it holistically. And
Thank you. I will say that, I have, one of the things, I speak at conferences on this issue a lot, and when it comes to that holistic view, we've kind of tracked this again. We have a lot of data points over the last 24 years, and I often state or quote the statistic that typically these AMI projects will leave 60 to 70% of the value off the will not capture that value, because all they're doing is looking at that meter to cash, and they don't look at the holistic view and pull together and say, and then they have an isolated system, which becomes the next legacy system that doesn't tie in with their water SCADA system, it doesn't tie in with their work order management, doesn't tie in with their CIS, and then there's lots of add-ons later on. So a lot of the focus is, and that's why we did the assessment up front, is what do we need to incorporate so that when we wrote the requirements to go into the RFP, it was with that thought in mind.
And you're paying extra money because you're sitting with one little system here and one little, I just appreciate that it's looking at everything so that we can have it all together and we're not paying
Right.
pieces. I've seen it. I work with some of those programs
Yeah.
at work, so I appreciate that.
Thank you. All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, let's see here. We're going to move on down to,
Oh,
no, I'm sorry. Yeah, sir.
I need a motion and a second
To
to.
pass this rate on. Do we have a
for the
motion?
rates.
That presentation threw me off. I'm sorry.
I'll make the motion to move the ordinance to city council.
I'll second.
Roll call?
Misty,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Daniel,
Yes.
Amber,
Yes.
Tim.
No.
Motion
All right.
passes to the city council.
Now we'll move on down to item C, a discussion of a resolution to add the Arkansas DFA tax remitter report to the city financial report quarterly. Mr. Montez.
Yeah, we talked about requesting that document from the state, and this resolution pretty much lines out that request and makes it a resolution so that it's we've got some teeth to it. And I believe, Mr. Washkoyak, you had provided us an additional document tonight that has some other information in it.
Yeah, and just comparing mine's may be a little, yours is kind of nuts and bolts and kind of what I think I looked at the first time. This one may be just a little superfluous. It may have more than what we really need. I think yours cuts to the heart of the matter. The only thing that, that I would like to add to yours would be in section 3, that the report is provided to city council and clerk treasurer in its native format.
What is that native format?
Well, that's what I don't know. I hadn't seen it. So when the report comes back from the mayor, it's not altered and I'm not saying that the mayor does this. I'm just saying that it's dispersed to council as it's received. That's all I mean by that. I don't mean anything.
Native format somewhere on here?
No, I just added.
That's what he wants to add.
And you want
To
to add that on
section 3.
After clerk treasurer.
Yes.
In its native format.
Or if anybody has a better suggestion for how to word it, that's original format, as it's received from
Email
DFA.
forwarded from,
That's fine too. Either way,
Email
whatever's
forwarded
easiest for
from-
you. I mean, it'd be pretty simple just to probably forward that on once you received it. And I don't know if they're, one of the searches I did, excuse me, did include like a section on confidentiality and safeguards. You might look at that. I don't know if we want to add that. And the one that I handed it to you guys tonight, that maybe that's extraneous information that doesn't need to be in there. I think.
I would
This-
request that it be in there
Okay.
because I'm held liable if any council member gives it to anyone else.
So under,
These are FOIA-able though, right?
No, they are not.
They're not.
under my resolution that I handed out then, you guys can look at section
Section
4. So add section 4 to this as well. So we're kind of going to have to merge two documents again. I don't know if there's anything else that you guys wanted to add. And make that, I guess, could we make that section 6 and make your current section 7, Mr. Montez, or section 6, section 7?
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
I think we could also even add section 4 confidentiality and safeguards from yours, Councilmember Washkoyak, to section 5.
Just add it to section 5. That's fine.
I mean, it's.
I don't have a problem.
It seems that the verbiage is close enough. Reports obtained under this resolution shall be used solely for lawful municipal purposes, including revenue verification, financial reporting, and fiscal oversight. Shall not be disclosed except as authorized by Arkansas law. The city acknowledges that all information received from DFA constitutes confidential tax information under Arkansas Code 26-18-303. The city shall maintain such information in a secure manner, restrict access to officials and employees with a legitimate need to know, prohibit unauthorized disclosure, and use the information solely for official municipal purposes. Any disclosure in violation of state law is strictly prohibited.
That's also good. I think that makes even more sense. Just add it to section 5. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, you can have it.
Okay, does anyone else have anything they want to add? So far, to recap, we're sticking with Mr. Montez's resolution, adding after clerk treasurer in native format, and shall ensure the report is maintained as part of the city's official financial records. And then on down in section 5, we're going to add the verbiage of Mr. Washkowiak's resolution to the end of section 5, all that verbiage, that entire paragraph, correct?
Correct.
The confidentiality and safeguards.
Yes.
Okay. With those,
Go ahead. I was just wondering if anybody had any trouble with any of that.
is that clear? Does anybody have any questions or anything they would like to add before we? Okay.
I'll make a
Motion?
motion that we approve that and move it to the city council.
I'll second it.
Okay, roll call.
Misty,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Daniel,
Yes.
Amber,
Yes.
Tim.
Yes.
Moving to city council.
All right, moving on to item D, discussion regarding Washington Water Authority's inspection fees. Mr. Burris.
Thank you, Councilmember. So Washington Water operates in part of the city, and Washington Water has requested that they can come in and do inspections in the city on their system, and they charge for some of those. But that's in violation of ACA Arkansas Code 14-208-102, which grants municipalities the exclusive right to inspect the water system within the municipality, issue and regulate permits for water system work, and regulate all water service within the corporate limits, even when the property lies within the assigned service area of a rural water service. Elm Springs noticed this and sent a cease and desist letter to Washington Water for this very thing. At a point back in October, the Honorable Robin Lundstrom, our representative in this area, asked Attorney General Tim Griffin to weigh in on this. And there was an act, it was Act 895 back in 2017, and he just affirmed that under that act, which is the same act we talked about here, when a rural water service operates within the annexed boundaries of a municipality, that municipality has an exclusive right to inspect the water system within the municipality, issue and regulate permits for the water system within that municipality, and regulate water service to property within the corporate limits of the municipality, even if the water service is part of the assigned service area of the rural water service, which in this case would be Washington Water. So I don't know that we need to do a pushback or that we need to have a resolution, but I think we need to have something that backs Washington Water off, just to remind them, we appreciate what you do, thank you so much, we've got it. Instead of, we do inspections and whatever costs are incurred from whomever needs that inspection, and then they come in and do an inspection and are charging. So there's a double cost to folks here in town over that. And they've softened up their stance a little bit, but they're still asking for that. And I think it would just be, maybe we could find a really nice way to say something like, no, it's not going to happen. Just my thought. So I didn't bring an idea of a resolution in part because I was hoping that Mr. Farrar would be our attorney by tomorrow, and at which point we maybe could talk to him. But that's the end of my discussion. It's just something I want to make sure you are aware of, and something that that we don't let some other organization push us around when they do not have the legal right to do that. Any questions?
I definitely think it's something that we can speak with our new attorney about.
Great.
I would like to address this if you would allow me.
Please.
It's something that we were already in discussions about. Me, because it's water, Mark, because the building inspector is now under that department. So it kind of involves both of us. But had we already hired a city attorney, we would have already sent a letter.
So where are we in the midst of this right now?
We are in the midst of it.
Can you
yes.
catch us up?
Can I catch you up?
Can you tell us where we are in the middle of this?
Like I said, as soon as we have an attorney
Okay.
hired,
You would send a letter.
I'm going to ask him to send the letter.
Oh,
Yes.
fantastic.
Yep.
Never mind, we can strike it from the agenda.
I mean, if I don't know if you want a resolution for it.
I don't know if we need one. A cease and desist letter would be fine by me. We may want to have something from the council approving that letter, but.
Okay. Well.
Would you be amenable if we need that letter that we bring that to the council? I'm not necessarily asking to do that now, but would you be amenable if we needed to in 2 weeks?
If he can get it written in the next day or two, I can email it out to you and you can at least look at it. I don't know. I don't know if you could do a verbal approval of it. Or if you want to see it back at the next council meeting. Either way.
I think it always makes sense to take a gander at it, but at the same time, just to let them know, we think you're great, back off.
Yeah, that's where we're going.
Good.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr.
You're
Clark.
welcome.
Okay, we're going to move on down to the added item, item E, appointing of a chair. And I'll start off by saying that I've heard that Mr. Artemani would like to retain his seat as chair position. So he's been chair for as long as I've been on council. I don't have a problem with it. So I'd just like to make a motion to keep him chair.
Just to add to that, he's not been the whole time you've been on council. You've been on council longer than me, right?
Well, I think he's been chair the entire time.
No,
Or
Gene was
Gene?
chair. Yeah.
Okay, then he's been chair majority of the time that I've
Right.
been on council.
Here's what I'd like to say. I think every one of us at one point or another has been accused of being in somebody's pocket. I think it's all nonsense. But at some point or another, the public views each one of us at one point or another of, oh, that's so-and-so's person. The so-and-so's got their ear. They do what so-and-so wants them to do. And I would say, with the sole exception of Larry, I've never heard anybody make a claim that Larry is in somebody's pocket. For that reason, he is neutral, and he comes across neutrally. I also think Larry is a really nice guy. And there are times, frankly, where I would rather the chaos that ensues in a meeting were reined in. But I understand it's a difficult position. But I think he's doing a fine job. If he wants to retain that position, I absolutely want him in that position. I think he's done a fine job. I appreciate the job he's done. And I have absolutely no concerns, whatever. I just wanted to point out there that in a difficult job, could he do better? I think yes, any one of us could. But I would rather, if he wants to be there, that we retain him in that position.
Is that a second?
I thought we were discussing.
I made a motion.
Sure, second the emotion and all that other stuff that I said before, just let me say it now.
All right, roll call.
Misty? Yes.
Does nobody else have
Mike?
comments?
Yes.
Daniel?
I'm sorry, I didn't know if anybody else had comments.
Yes.
Amber?
Yes.
Tim?
Yeah,
Keeping Larry's chair.
All right, comments from council members. We'll start down here with Mr. Washkovian.
Yeah, I just got a couple. One is with this resolution that's coming about the tax reports. I know that there's a couple that I'd like to see from the outset is to, just for comparative purposes, to look at all of 2023 and 2024, just so we can kind of see a trend of what's going. I know we got the 2025, but just to see what's going forward from the last 3 years, just to look at those. The other thing is I know that we took some flack over the budget and what our handling of the budget, but the council really didn't overstep its bounds by voting for the budget in the way that we did the budget. The budget does not have to be laid out in granular detail, but the accounting that's behind the scenes in the budget does need to be granular. And there have been some mistakes made on that part. And I've discussed this with Mark, and I've discussed this with Ms. Artemani, and I think there are fixes that are going to happen for this coming up very soon. And it's not my place, I don't think, to announce that. If Mr. Latham wants to address that, he can. But those are legitimate concerns that were brought up in the budget that do need to be fixed. And I think we'll get that taken care of. Other than that, I hope we have a good year. I'm trying to be positive and look for positive. We do have a lot of good things that are going on in the city. I know a lot of times it seems like the negative smacks us in the face all the time up here, but the city is doing pretty well. We can do better on a lot of things, and hopefully we will do better this year. Thank you.
Mr. Burrs?
thank you. I want to say thanks to the experts we had in the room tonight in particular, and thank you to Kyle from Garver, also Mr. Spiegler, appreciate that very much. Mr. Farrar, if you watch this, please accept my sincerest apologies for putting you in the tight spot we put you in, but thank you for the time you spent on that. To my fellow council members, I so appreciate what happened tonight. We had an opportunity to look at some things, to walk through some things, to try to figure some things out. I think that's exactly what the cow is for, and I very much appreciate your willingness to do that tonight. I'm looking forward to a great 2026 where we can get a lot done here in the city. I hope you all had a great Christmas. I hope your new year is starting off well, and thank you.
Ms. Piazza?
Thank you everyone for coming out tonight. Mark, thank you for always sending out our weekly things. I'm excited for several of the things you've sent out that we're working on this year. I think we've got a lot of great things happening in the city. And I also am continuing to look for the positives and look at ways that we can move forward and make this town the best that it can be. Thank you for everyone for coming out tonight.
Mr. Montez, sorry.
I just want to thank everybody for coming out tonight, and looking forward to another year.
And I'll just add, I'm also looking forward to 2026. Far more positive things happening in Tontitown than negative. Every time I visit with Mr. Latham, he's talking about just all the good. There's so much good that we need to be focusing on, and he's right. And by the way, I do appreciate your weekly updates that you send us on just everything that's going on, the updates on all those. That's super helpful, and I appreciate you for doing that for us. And Ms. Mayor.
Thank you. Today we had coffee and conversation, and I got to speak with a lady named Anna, and she is with Forgotten Paws Northwest Arkansas, and they are seeking help with seeking to help us with all of the animals, the stray animals that's around, and that's we've heard for the last couple of months about. And I'm going to be speaking with her more. She's talked with me and Chief Jennison today. Separately, I introduced them. And I'm hoping that we can do something with this program and help it move forward so it could take a burden off of Tontitown with the calls that we get for stray animals. So I wanted to let everyone know about that. I hope everyone had a great Christmas, and looking forward to a Happy New Year.
All right, and hopefully in our next meeting, we will have comments from attorneys. So with that being said, I'll take a motion for adjournment. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Open up our, did I already flip it over? Oh, thank you. Our special city council meeting, January 6, 2026, meeting call to order. Roll call, please.
Daniel,
Here.
Misty.
Here.
Tim.
Here.
Larry, Mike,
Here.
Amber.
Here. Do we say the Pledge of Allegiance? I can't remember. Do we skip
Bypass
it? Okay,
anything you want.
we'll bypass that. Do we have an approval?
Nope, we can bypass
No,
that.
we don't have an ordinance. Let's see. All right, new business, an approval of a resolution to hire Tyler Farrar as city attorney. Ms. Mayor, do you have anything you want to add?
No, I knew that you had all the, I'm sorry, I didn't
Notes.
have that on. I knew that you had all the notes that was taken because I was holding the phone to the microphone. And I was just wanting you to go over that if you don't mind.
So just to recap, the adjustments that we made to the contract in section 2.2 litigation, we are just simply adding the words "and counsel" at the end of that sentence. In section 3 of compensation, his hourly rate is going to be $250 per hour, but also $250 per meeting, adjusted there. And then his agreement term is 3 years with a 1-year successive kind of rollover. And then as far as termination, we agreed to 90 days written notice. And those are all the changes that we've made. Does anybody have any comments?
I just have one. I want to thank you, Mayor, for getting Mr. Farrar on the phone. You know, I understand your frustration maybe with us not being responsive fast enough, but thank you for letting us, getting him on the phone. It helped make my decision.
Well, I
So,
do
he
have
was
to
good to
give
talk to.
credit to Miss Ibarra. She's the one that asked me if I could call him. So I want to give credit to her.
However it worked out for the better, I think, for the city and for you. So, thank you.
Yes, thank you for calling him. If there are no other comments, I seek a motion. Do
I'll make a motion to approve it.
we have a
with
second?
the changes.
With the changes, thank you.
I'll second.
Okay, roll call.
Misty,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Daniel,
Yes.
Amber,
Yes.
Tim.
Yeah, yes.
Get
All
the new
right.
attorney.
All right, at this time, we'll have comments from citizens. If you have any comments, just come to the podium, state your name, address, and please keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. Okay, and then we'll skip alderman comments.
Thank you.
Mayor comments.
Thank you.
And, okay, all right. All in favor of adjournment?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.